Hey toy fans, Decades of Cool Toys here with a very special video. We had the joy of sitting down with the creator of the newest toy line 9 to 5 Warriors, Brandon Braswell, earlier this week to learn what inspired him and how it all came together for the final product. It was an absolute blast. We got to learn so much about him and how the 9 to 5 Warriors came to be. So without further ado, here is the full interview. We hope you enjoy.
Some rad commandos and bandits, they both just gotta have it. 9 to 5 warriors, it's mayhem in an office mosh pit. These are your 9 to 5 warriors. Gentle electricity, brought them all to life, you see. This is how they came to be, brought to this reality. It happens every day from 9 to 5.
Fans, Decades of Cool Toys here with a very special and exciting video, a bit different than the ones you're used to seeing on our IG and YouTube. Here with us today, we're happy to be joined by our special guest, Brandon Braswell, the creator of the 9 to 5 Warriors, the newest toy line inspired by 90s cartoons, an animated series that consists of your ordinary office supplies and food from the break room, transformed into heroes and villains. Brandon, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to chat with me a little bit about the launch of this line. This is it's an honor, and thank you so much just for being here.
Oh, first and foremost, thank you for having me on. It's always a privilege to be able to speak about a passion project. So any opportunity is never in second guess today. So I truly appreciate it.
Of course, absolutely. So before we even start talking about the 9 to 5 Warriors and all the cool, just the creation that it is, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know that like on your website and other videos that you've done, you kind of explain that your inspiration from the 90s. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you kind of came into the toy sort of deal.
So I was born in '86. So yeah, the '90s child for sure. My entire childhood was based in all the things that pretty much surround me in the room. So those that are watching, I grew up heavily on Ninja Turtles and the Batman animated series, every single thing from Spider-Man to Exo Squad. Like those are my favorite shows growing up. And when I grew up, or as a kid, like I literally did always want to make a toy. There's something in my head. I'm like, I want to make something like this at some point. And, as life happens, I grew up, I got the day job. I forgot about that premise. And I was never a toy collector. And I think it was like 2012, 2011, I went to a restaurant in Los Angeles, which was a diner. And they had an awesome setup where you basically wait for a table. It was very popular, and you could wait up to like an hour. So they had like a toy store next to it. It was just a different owner. And they had a cool setup where it was like, yeah, if you're waiting for a table, come browse the toy store. And that was the first time I got into toys, like as an adult. I just walked in and I was like, oh my God, like I just smacked the nostalgia, the memories, the instant, like I remember having that. Oh my God, I forgot this existed. Oh, I remember this one. This was awesome. And like this sensation just took over me of nostalgia. And at that moment, I think that's when the idea again of making a toy came back to life in like full force. And like, I want to create that sensation for the kids growing up today.
So you talked about some of the toy lines. What was like one of your absolute favorite ones when you were younger that like you're just like, you keep it so close to you today? Like for me, it was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I love them so much. So yeah, it's like, what's one of the things that you just like I see you have one in the background, that little like that square, I think. And I think is that the party wagon I see back there as well, or?
It's from the new Mutant Mayhem, which was, I think they did an awesome job on the toy line and the movie. But I'm with you. Ninja Turtles was hands down my favorite, but funny enough, it's like the smallest part of my collection because I knew once I started, that would be my collection.
Right.
A bit of everything. And if you look around, my room is eclectic as hell. But some of my absolute favorites growing up was like the Batman from the Toy Biz, with the retractable belt. I remember playing with that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I said, I mentioned X-Men and Toy Biz. Like, again, I think Toy Biz is one of my favorite brands growing up without knowing it. Now looking back, I own a lot of their stuff. They just had the best IP, the best execution in my thought. Again, as a kid back then, I didn't know any better. But X-Men was a huge, like, I loved the TV show, the theme song. Like, that to me was the epitome of like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Finally, a reason to go back to the office. Introducing 9 to 5 Warriors, an exciting new toy line created for the Toys R Us kid that never grew up. Offering 10 unique characters that are perfect for your cubicle or home office. Join the battle alongside Major Eraser and the Water Cooler Commandos as they keep the peace. Or wreak havoc with Colonel Custard and the Break Room Bandits. Choose your side as these two forces clash over total office domination.
It happens every day from 9 to 5.
Warning, do not leave unattended. Each figure sold separately. When you punch out, they come punching in.
How on earth did you create the 95 Warriors and just kind of take all the inspiration you just talked about? Because the first time I found out about these, I was on IG as the social media manager and just kind of checking things out. And I came across this. I'm like 95, like what is this? And then I clicked on it, and just the artwork and the characters. And I'm like, what have I stumbled upon? And then when I followed you, you sent us that message, that wonderful greeting message, like, hey guys, this is Brandon, and we just started learning more and more. And then like as I kept learning, I'm just like this concept is so like different and unique. And I'm just like, I really want to talk to this guy, just ask him like, how on earth did this even come about? And like, what inspired this? And, like we just writing one there, like, yes, this is it. Like, this is the major, the number 2 and then the pencils and all that. So like, how on earth did that kind of come about?
So going back to 2012, now I went to the toy store. I'm like with excitement and creativity. And my backstory is storytelling and video editing, which is basically storytelling with film. And so right then and there, I'm like, how can I create a toy? And then I really did like a deep dive, like, well, what were the toys that I really loved and why? And to me, it always was rooted down in story. So I literally just started there. And funny enough, the story was something that like I remember knocking out in probably 30 minutes. And like when I say 30 minutes, it was like a hardcore, like here's the drama. Here's the thing, like I connected all the thoughts of all the things I've learned in school and in my experience. And I felt like, wow, this is like a core set. And why I chose office supplies and leftover food goes back to like my childhood again. Like I was super creative and would actually play with like school supplies, Elisa Franks and the random things. There's like colorful world. And Major Eraser was one of those actual characters I created from scratch. Like I stuck a thumbtack in a purple eraser's eye or pink eraser's eye as well. And then paper clips as arms and legs. And literally from that, later in like the 90s is when I discovered food fighters, because at that point discontinued. And my best friend, his older brother actually had them. So that's how I became aware of them. And like, there's just something about that line. I'm like, this is so weird and like awesome. And because it wasn't mine and was like the elusive big brothers of a friend's toy, it was even that more appealing. And I don't even think I started collecting them until even later after that. So it was always something I really wanted. So when I came back from that toy store and my synapses is firing or creativity, I'm like, okay, what toy would I create? And I had a flashback of Major Racer, and I had that same feeling of the food fighters. I was like, okay, what if it's supplies versus food? And I'm like, okay, I like that. Like classroom clashers. Oh, maybe set in elementary school. I'm like, no, maybe it's for office. It's like 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9. And like, I just rolled off the top, like 9 to 5 warriors. And I was like, I like that. And from there, like, it literally just, I feel like the story part was what came easiest. It's just natural. Making the toy has been a 12-year journey, though.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought, because the way the comic book on the back of the box, how it describes how they like came to life, I'm sitting here thinking like he probably had like an energy drink, was like, yes, this pencil, because that's how they were formed. So I'm thinking like, okay, that's how. So
like that, I remember what's funny is I came up with the energy drink idea so long ago. And then that movie what was it? Hot Tub Time Machine came out.
yeah,
I was like, no! I was like, I'll stick with it. I was like, this is awesome. But it's hilarious that it was like a Russian energy drink that created them. And I was like, I guess I'm on the right path. It's a funny word. And for me, the word is Jensei energy. And in Japanese, it's literally like to give life, or to life itself.
okay.
Like that's the play on words. And like the main character is named Alan, and he's a bit of myself, the Toys R Us kid that never grew up, and he's working dead end job, who his father is the boss, and constant pressure, and he just wants to be creative. Mm-hmm. And the idea was like he creates them by mistake. He's playing with his actual supplies and the leftover food and giving them the personalities by dictating it out. Like, okay, Major Racer, you're the leader and you're this. Like, Colonel Custard, you're evil. You're looking to seek revenge. And that one fateful night when his energy drink knocks over and sparks them all to life, they kind of like retain their personalities. And that's how the 9 to 5 Warriors begin.
That's great. I think it's again, it's just like well, I love the fact that there's a comic book on the back of it, just as like just a little like the panels, just to kind of get the inspiration of how these characters came to life. And I think the energy drink idea is just it makes so much sense, you know. It's just like because it's so much, you know, the sugar and all that, you know, the stuff they put in energy drinks, and that's so much that you can just these ordinary things and objects just kind of come to life. So that's incredible. Now, having them here in person, I will say that they're so much more impressive and cooler in real life than they are. The website and the videos can only do them so much justice, but the day these arrived, I mean, everyone here at the store, they were really excited about them, but I think I was the most excited just because I'm just like, this is like one of the coolest things, and I love ideas and toy lines that are so just out there and new and different. You know, like I'm surrounded here by, you know, G.I. Joes and Transformers all around me, but you know, when you find something like this, you know, you take a second look, you're like, well, wait a second, this isn't the conventional, like they're action figures, but like they're not the typical what it is. And that's why, like, even when we first discovered you, when you sent us that message, I was like, one of our members was like, hey, this is just like Food Fighters. And I'm like, oh wow, that's like the similarities are almost uncanny, which is crazy. But this is just like a fresh new idea. And it just again, I applaud you just for taking, you know, thinking outside the box and just trying something new and different and just sticking with it. And it's basically one of those I remember when I first saw these characters, I'm like, you know, chips and a donut. Like, what is going on here? I'm like, wow, and I'm like, but you know what? It works. It works so well. The story's there, like you said, and I think, I mean, only like someone like you can really just put this out there into the world. I feel like if anyone else tried it, it wouldn't be as successful. The passion really shows what you did here, and I just applaud you on like getting it out there, and now it's everywhere, and it's great. So I just commend you on that.
Thank you. And thank you for picking it up. So like the importance of retail stores is exactly that, is like you can see things a million times on Instagram or on your phone or whatever, but like I'm super grateful for your stores and stores like this that essentially are like the gateway. And like I think of it like back in the day, like a record store or something. You'd hear something on the radio and like, but you'd have like this guy at a record store like, no, you if you like this, you got to listen to that. You got to listen to this, and that's how you kind of become aware of new things, especially back then before the internet. And I agree. Like even like I've obviously been with this project from the get go, and even seeing the initial prototypes from Scott, who did basically 50/50. I'll get into that later. Scott Hensley is one of the sculptors that, you know, is behind half the stuff in my collection. And he put his hands on the main characters like Major and Custard, but seeing them transform from like that softer ply and like just evolve into like a fully finished product, like I literally teared up. Like, this is insane. Like the quality, it was executed perfectly, like beyond my expectations. And it's one of those things that you just don't know until you feel it. And it was designed to be intentionally like that. Like, yes, I could have stuck a million points of articulation and given it the modern twist, but I think that works well in established characters and established toy lines where you have this, you've had 50 Wolverines and you're just like, I want the better version. Establishing this brand and establishing their characteristics and establishing their personalities and the player and the world. I'm starting with the basics of like, when you think back, look at like our cool toy lines, essentially they were sculpted with the personalities built in, you know, like if you pick them up in a toy bin without the card back, without the storyline, never seeing a cartoon, can you look at this character and be like, oh, he looks kind of like a mechanic. Oh, he's tape. He fixes things. Oh, he's got to be a mechanic, and his gun looks like a blowtorch. Just cool. Like, and his battery, what? Like, you can dive into that versus, you know, I'm also just a fan of the 5-point articulation, but versus creating something that could be completely molded to how you want to intend it to make it, you know? Like I always think of the Spider-Man that I loved and kind of also hated as a kid. I was like, had like 50 points of articulation from right. Every time I stuck him in my pocket, he'd come out completely like mangled or new. And that wasn't like how I represented Spider-Man. Of course, I could put him any which way. He might topple over, but like it wasn't as cool as the other Toy Biz characters that like were in a pose or just had that stance that I just really, really loved.
And kind of like transitioning to that, yeah, I would say that's my. I'll get to him in a second because he's my favorite character of the line. But I was gonna say, what was it just been like working with Scott and the rest of the team to kind of bring this, you know, because the toughest thing about any idea I feel like is just getting from what's up here to, you know, writing it down and then finally putting it out into the world. And sometimes it turns out completely different than what you expected. So what has just been like getting to work with, the creators and the sculptor of so many iconic lines and series, and then working with the rest of the team to make the little promo and the commercial? Just what's that whole process just kind of been like?
No, it's been pretty magical. And you have to really, I think I want to emphasize, like, working with any artist, everyone always takes your idea and like makes it their own. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. It's really hard to like, you have to constantly, that's why creative directors exist. Like you have to constantly like reiterate. So Major Eraser was the first one that was sculpted. If you saw the original version of Major Eraser, like Scott like put like the articulation in the head still, and it looked like two separate erasers, and it was kind of like awkward. It kind of was there, and I could see where he's going, and I had to like kind of shift him to like, no, it needs to be like this. He needs to have the stance. It needs to be one piece. Let's remove the articulation from the head because I know it's gonna be a little awkward. He's where like, what are you gonna really add there? And just working with him to get to that point that it is now. Well, even then, like once he delivered the final one, at first I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. Let's start the Kickstarter, which is exactly what I did. Like I took it from Scott's hand, took a photo and put it on the web, Now looking back, I'm like, whoa, that thing's kind of like janked. Like it looks a little more finesse. And at the time, I added like articulation in the elbow joints because I thought that's not what people really wanted. And I kept them promising it would have better articulation in the end. I think it had articulation in the knees too, which was kind of pointless. It was like just a small figure and it just didn't add to the value. So that's actually what I just stripped away and made it like a 5-point, or in his case, 4-point. So from there, I worked with a digital artist named Seba, and he's responsible for like, modern toy lines that you might carry or heard of called Plunderlings. And he's done amazing work with other lines as well. I'll probably butcher their names, but Seba was awesome. So I worked with a local company that scanned the versions that Scott did. The 3D scanned it also. It can retain the like. I wanted the details, and if you're holding the figures, you can see there's slight imperfections, and those are the things that I felt like is what makes it special. So by digitally scanning it, I was able to retain all that. And then with Seba, he's like refined it into you remove the articulation, fixed a couple of stances. I think added, the weight holding the weapons a little better, like little things that just needed to be tweaked for production. And that's just one character. So like working through all 10 was nice. Like working with an artist, letting them understand the vision. Sometimes I'm a little more like, no, it has to be like this because of that. And then they get it. And then it's like, oh, now they see it. Even it's cool. Like you can, I don't say there's friction at all, but it's like during creation, there's always, like I said, there's two different perspectives. And it's just that once you see the final product, I hope that it makes a complete sense. And from the reactions, I feel like it has so far.
I agree. Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, that was a cool. I like that. I really enjoy hearing about that because, like, well, he's probably like, I mean, he and Colonel Custard are probably like two of the meanest dudes I've ever seen. that look at like he's ready for battle, and he just reminds me of every like army general out there, and you see in movies and shows and like that. So I think, and if I remember, it was the 3D Chimera, right? That was the company that you kind of helped achieve that goal you were talking about.
And they're such an awesome company. Like they just opened my eyes to the world of production. They got everything right. Like, and just they're just doing this on my own. Like I don't know anything. I'm like asking questions. A lot of times it's naive questions. I look back at like how I asked certain creators back then, like, oh, what factories did you use? Or what did you do? And I know I come off naive, but it was also just to understand the process so I can get to this point. And thankfully a lot of people either the ones that responded like helped along the way, and I'm super grateful for everybody.
You kind of talked about getting the scanning on there, getting all the articulation stuff like that. So what were some of the other challenges that you kind of encountered with creating this toy line, and how did you kind of learn from that and just kind of keep going to eventually get to this the finished product?
Truthfully, the biggest challenge besides resources, because this is all self-financed, I'm not backed. If you look, I failed the Kickstarter. So I didn't even have Kickstarter money. The Big Bad Toy Store Kickstarter 2.0 also, like, yes, it succeeded, but it also technically failed. I released all 10 characters at once, which kind of split all the sales up, which people warned me about, but I'm also like, no, but I got videos and I got this. And so usually the biggest challenge is marketing and selling the new concept of a brand, because at first glance, you're either, this is really interesting and lean in like you, and you can dive into the lore and dive into like, holy shit, look at what he's done. Oh shit, look what he's done. Look, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow, and connect all the dots. Or you're just like, I don't know what this is. Well, only 5.0 articulate note. Skip.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that like, so I'm constantly, I mean, the struggle is really just brand awareness and getting the story out. And like, if you don't like it, then don't like it. But it's my job to like just keep trying and getting it out there to the masses, because I do think once you see it in person, then you can see the full magic of it all.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm glad that we came across your line, and we're happy that now it's in our stores. And here at Decades of Cool Toys, we try to sell all the stuff that you know and love. Transformers, GI Joe, brands like Hasbro and Mattel. But we also try to have we're kind of trying to step out of the ordinary too. We're trying to have these lines that are kind of different or just out there that you won't find anywhere else. And when we came across this, I was just like, this is different. You don't see this everywhere. You don't go to any other like retail store and you'll find stuff like this. Maybe if you do, it'll be tucked away in the corner somewhere, like no one wants to. Oh, these are those one toys that like not everyone's gonna like, and put the GI Joes over there and all that stuff. But that's what kind of intrigued us to it, and you reaching out and just being really friendly and just and awesome. And we were just like, you know what, this is someone that cares. This is someone that really has a passion for this thing, and we knew that as soon as we saw the line and you were communicating with us really well, we were like, you know what, this is definitely something that we want to feature in our store. Hearing about where you kind of started from, and that's the thing that no one ever really talks about, especially it's like they see the end result. They're like us. We saw the videos, the polished Instagram, the website, it all just kind of came flooding in. But now everyone always talks about like the struggle of trying to get there and, getting the tools, the resources for all this thing. So it's been great to just sort of hear how, you started and how you just kept working through it. And like, look at us now. This is it. This is it right here. This is your creation, your passion that we're holding right here. So that must be like a very awesome and wonderful feeling for you. And just kind of, now you have it not just in our store but across many stores, and Big Bad Toy Store, which is like one of the really popular ones. So
It's like one of those things. Like again, I lean to you guys, and I appreciate the most out of the brick and mortars that are out there, because you guys are like at the forefront of a new experience. People are gonna come to you for what they already know that you carry, what they already know you love, and I appreciate being right there in front. That's freaking awesome. Just because, again, just begs the question, like, what is this? Did I miss this growing up? Because it does feel nostalgic. It does feel like of that era. So yeah, I mean, thank you, like 10, like a million.
we're always happy. Yeah, so thank you as well. And it was actually funny. The first, so we got them on this past week, and we slowly been putting them out. We got them, all checked out on our website and all that good stuff. And then I think it was like yesterday, someone walked in and they're like, "You guys got anything new?" I showed them some of the other stuff we got, and then I was like, "We also have this new toy line. It's called the 9 to 5 Warriors, and it's like office supplies and food inspired, all that, like from the typical office." And at the front, and the girl was looking, she's like, "Oh wow, they have pancakes." And I'm like, "Oh, that's Commodore Crisps." It was a fucking moment. I was laughing to myself. I'm just like, all right, it's time to get to work and get these toys properly spread out there. Because, yeah, I don't know. Maybe if you make a 9 to 5 diner toys, pancakes is one of the evil pancakes kind of. So now that we've talked about the process a bit of how you create 9 to 5 words and how to get them out there, what would you say to anyone that's wanting to do something like this, or just kind of struggling to get over that first hurdle, not just in toy creation, but kind of any of their big goals and ambitions that kind of just like putting something out into the world for everyone to see, and the feedback that you receive. Not everyone is always going to like what you want. Obviously we love these, but I'm sure people are like, what is this? What's going on here? So what would you kind of any advice that you have for anyone kind of in your shoes a little bit?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, like the time is now, and like you look at what's possible. Like one person, like I said, is able to do all this. I feel like technology, just thinking about back then, like I have the ability to create a website. It was such a big expense back in the day, and now we're just like, yeah, everyone can have a Squarespace. And it would like just to even to have access to factories and be able to translate with them through WeChat and other things. Like, well, that's a huge freaking like gate has opened now. Smaller independent companies that never would have been able to raise the funds thanks to Kickstarter platforms would have never been able to reach the factory. Like now all that's kind of happening, and I do truly believe we're in this golden age of like creation. And when I look back at this room and all the beautiful colors, the uniqueness of the IPs, that's what I always wanted to convey. And I felt back then there was a sense of experimentation. You didn't truly 100% rely on trends, or what was, what the algorithm picks up. And that creativity is what I'm all about, and trying to invoke in my brand and just be like the catalyst of the next generation of Saturday morning cartoons. Cause there's amazing brands out there. I mentioned Plunderlings. This is Skeletron. Like there's so many, like there's literally Animal Warrior Kingdoms. It's like all these amazing IPs now that don't have a TV show yet, like there's gotta be like someone like can finally click like, holy shit, this kid's right. Like let's someone to invest in us and create the next generation of Saturday morning cartoons that could re-spark imagination, re-spark like storytelling, and make really great toys again. My word of advice is literally just start and follow your passion, ask questions, and don't be scared of failing, because I failed how many times already? Like I'm still on the process of where I want to go. So honestly, just start. That's it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm glad that you kept following. Like I said before, I'm glad that you kept following this. You had an idea, but not everyone is always going to perceive that as cool or unique. So it's about you trying to like really push it out there and just make it. You can't always force people to like, oh, well, this is gonna be you're gonna like this. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be the next revolutionary thing. But you can't always, by displaying your passion, by getting your creative juices out there and all that. This guy is really onto something here. And that's why I felt like, yeah, I'm like, this is just office supplies and food. But I'm like, but it's so freaking awesome. Like it's the way that you have it in the website and the backstory. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, man, this like I gotta talk to him. This is incredible. Like everything about these toys is like the packaging, the artwork, the toys themselves, the little the story, the behind it, that's everything that you put into these. It really shows that passion. I can tell you one thing. These are like, I think they're like, this is just amazing. The way that they're designed. I love and I like even the little details, like, the first time we unboxed them, all of the, like, it's on a receipt, like all the different like team members, like that's quirky and fun. That's cool. So it's not just a standard. So I really love that.
The idea for the receipt was working with Scott. Like I think he's behind so many toys that are in our collection. Like you can look up this guy, Scott Hensley. You'll be like, oh crap, he did that too. Oh crap, he did that too. That's literally him. And I wanted to just show like this wasn't just me. This was like a whole team that we worked together. And like, I mean, everyone worked in different silos, funny enough. But like, hopefully, we can get into the same room one day if everyone's willing, and keep pushing this. But I want to give credit to where credit's due. And Scott definitely had his way of magic putting into these characters. When Scott gave me updates, I see like a can of Pringles on his desk and stacks of Pringles, and like the weapons, for instance, were super cool. I would send him. I don't have the other samples, but like I would send him. I'm not a sketch artist at all, so I can't draw. I would literally like create this out of real life and send a photograph of it, and then in 2 seconds, not 2 seconds, but like 45 minutes, is artist, like I'd see the rendition. With Scott, he had chopsticks, he snapped it in half, and then he put the X-Acto blade on that. Like this is creativity coming through. For Bouncy, I came up with like a highlighter bazooka type thing. Again, I crafted it, took a photo. He was able to replicate it and add his own twist. And like that was what's cool, is to start seeing them spark up and get excited, especially with Commodore Chris. Like he just was like, all right, I got so excited just looking at the clay version. And I was like, you did it, you killed it. Because the objective was to make a character that I didn't know how we could do it, like that can split into three. I'm thinking magnets, I'm thinking other elaborate mechanism, may transform. And he's like, I got you.
I'll take care of this.
And then I feel like that's his happy meal experience of something I would have never guessed, the simplicity and the brilliance in design. And that's why he's like our top seller.
I thought when I saw that, I was just like, wow, because Street Sharks, he helped create Street Sharks, and we have Street Sharks in the store, and now like Street Sharks are also being re-released for Mattel, and I'm just like that's so cool. Like he made those toys, like, he helped sculpt them, and now like we have these guys, and like there's so many things that he did, and so it's really cool. Like that must be mind blowing. Just be like, yeah, this guy created one of like the most iconic toy lines of the '90s, and now he's making like my creation like that. I would cry. I think I would have been in your same shoes, just crying, like getting emotional, because that's one of the coolest things. So now that we've kind of talked about the whole process and the inspiration behind it all, we can. I want to talk a bit more about these guys now that they're finally here in person. I have them all here in front of me. But I really love in particular like you were showing the X-Acto knife on Commodore Crisps.
Yeah.
I think that's like it's so like again it's quirky, it's funny. Like yeah, of course he would use the X-Acto knife. It's an office supply. And then like my favorite character is Tech Sergeant Scotchy because I love like the fact that he's an actual tape dispenser. You can actually use him as that if you wanted to. And I love that his gun is like his little blaster it's a battery with little push pins and like I'm looking at we have all that stuff back there. So I'm just like for someone to take this and then like it's so I love it. I love it. I have no words for it.
So two things about that. First, so going back to the sculptors, Scott Hensley did 50% of the characters.
Mhm.
And I'll say this: he did 6 characters. There's 10, and then Seba, the digital artist, also did 6.
Okay.
10. How is that 12? So Scott, Major and Custard were started by Scott, and they, like I said, scanned digitally, etc., and then refined by Seba. And I honestly feel like the best of both worlds came for those 2 main characters, and they honestly spent both equal amount of time creating those 2. So credit to where it's credit due. For Scotchy, Four, Sugar, and Corporal Can, they're all done digitally, and they're all done by Seba. And what's interesting is like I work again with them, like turn off anything that's symmetry, turn off all the things that help you and save you time. Try to do it like mimic the feel of hand sculpted work, because in digital you can get those super crisp lines, get the perfection. You can nitty pick over pixels, and like I kind of don't want that. Like I want it to feel as fresh and be consistent with what Scott is pushing out. And because then Scott did Bouncy, Commodore Chris, the 2 brothers, Lieutenant Led and Number 2. But basically, they have their own feel. These guys have their own feel, but they fit so well in the world together. And it was such an awesome mix. And then what you're saying about like the supplies being there next to you, and that's the whole premise of like anyone can buy these. I know storage space in a collection is scarce, but I want you to put these guys in the cabinet. I want you to put them in the refrigerator, put them anywhere. You can put them anywhere and play with the stuff that's around you. I want you to rethink when you see a bottle or a soda can, like, oh, what could this be used as? And like, oh, this could be a port. This could just, and like just have fun with them the way an old-fashioned toy would be, just like start sparking your imagination.
I could definitely see someone like in the office, like, oh, I'm playing with like a magic, like, recreating. Now it's like they're actually like you can actually do that. And I love the idea of having the pencils both be like that's just that story of like enemy brothers, like I don't know how to like respectfully, I started like laughing because I'm just like this story is see this being an actual cartoon. So I think you nailed it, like all the notes, red notes, all the feelings, and it feels definitely like a 90s toy line and cartoon. So that inspiration you were aiming for, I think you nailed it like right on the money. It's all there. So good job.
That's honest. I laugh a lot while writing this. It gets this easy. I love it. Yeah. And if you read the comic book, the trading cards on the back of them, there's if you did like kind of like these are scenes, and you'd read a little more about the scenes. There's like puns for days, and it's funny and creative and silly, but it all also just like that makes sense. It's all logical. There's a really good story in there that I can't wait to really share with the rest of the world when the time comes.
I think my favorite pun has to be for Colonel Custer when he's colder than the frappe he originally came with. All right, there. I think that's what I'm like. This guy, this is it. We're doing this. We're going all in on this line. That's incredible. So along now that we have Wave 1, it's officially here. What's kind of the future look like for 9 to 5 Wars? Or is there anything? Is there kind of like a secret? Can you share a little bit with us, or is it kind of all like under wraps right now? Wave 2 perhaps and that kind of stuff. And
I've got so much in store aside from the 6 characters, and I honestly I'm trying to figure out how to do this because again, this is constantly like a mountain. I'm on just one peak right now, and I'm like still looking for the top. So I am focusing on first off like selling the first 4 and just getting it out there, getting the word out there, because as you said, once they're in hand, it changes. So like your enthusiasm, hopefully people have the same, they share it, brings awareness, more sales to get things out there. Because that's my main focus right now. I also have to wear another hat of like, okay, how do I plan for production for the second wave? Because people are asking like, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? Ever since the last, since it got canceled in the mid BTS. been getting like, when's Corporal Can coming out, which is awesome because I thought he would be like a bad seller. People love it, and I turned to love him too. So like I'm needing to wear different hats to figure out how I'd move into different phases. Like the back of the card shows all 10 characters. The other fun projects that I have along the way that are already kind of developed fully and I'm excited to share, it comes down to, I'm gonna call them like the connects for adults, basically. I work with two awesome interns that are mechanical design engineers, and we met at Toy Fair in New York. They were super excited about the brand when they're like, "Oh my God, you're 95 Warriors!" What? I was like, "That's awesome!" Like the fact that these kids like heard of it. We created something called Battle Bids, which I'll hope to release soon. Again, I right now it's like juggling and trying to figure out, do you have enough money and is there enough popularity to make sure that the Kickstarter actually succeeds this time around. People are asking for vehicles since day one. And I really wanted to be able to create your own playsets, kind of create your own fortress, create your own battle tank and helicopters. So I created these. They look like connects for adults, but the pieces themselves are designed to look like bubble gum and rubber band strands and paper clips. And the idea is to bring your own supplies. So if you have pencils and pens, these bits connect to the ends and you're able to create literally anything out of them. So you're able to create the watchtower that you see in the commercials. You're able to create the catapult. And it's pretty ingenious. And the two kids that came, like helped me develop it are like Lego fans and fanatics. So there's like a perfect blend of creativity. We worked on it over the Christmas break, and it was like, this is awesome. And they're like, update me with a photo. Like, we kind of got carried away, and they built an entire fort. And like, yes, that's genius. And like, that's what's cool is that I can't wait to release those because then it really is just taking everyday items and making them special and letting your creativity fly.
I gotcha. Well, that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing more about that and just kind of hearing the hype as they kind of travel along. And I'm hoping it gets off the ground just like 9 to 5 and kind of gets another idea out there to check out. I will say you talk about vehicles and I started looking at these guys again. I'm like, if there isn't like like the energy drink isn't like a little car they can drive, or if it's like the parachute is like wrappers or something, like be something you try out and see if you can make some little accessories for them like that. So in addition, I don't know how many. I know you already got the second wave and all the characters planned out, but if you ever need more inspiration, I got a ruler right here I grabbed for you, so maybe you can do something. That's another weapon, perhaps. Let's see. I also got good old Post-it notes, right? There you go. That's another. I'm giving you some ideas here, man. You gotta write these down.
The Post-it note guy was almost made the core, and the idea was be able to like, fold and whatever you guys needed. Like, oh, you need a glider? You're like, 1 second, you rip it all. Oh, you need like to get across the bridge or whatever. Like you stack up, and it was like paper that can be molded and folded into every need, but for sure.
I got you. Okay. I also got I got a stapler right here, so perhaps they could align up, come together here a little bit. So
I definitely have the stapler removers, which are featured in one of the cards. Basically, the stapler removers, the chompers, they're brought to life by Custard, and I call them like the supply seekers, and they're like just trained to like sense and smell out the supplies and like dump the bits. So like, cool as the expandability is like endless. Custard will always be creating new minions to take out the core cooler commandos. And what's cool is the water cooler commandos, even though it's a 5-man squad, including Corporal Can, who's like the communications specialist, it's really 4-man team that are really going out there and kicking ass. Corporal Can's always behind the scenes coordinating. His peanut minions might join the fight and, can jump on people if they need to overpower. But the core 4 is what's really cool and like how they can come together and overcome the challenges wherever Custer throws at them. And yeah, I'm excited to dive into those stories eventually.
So one final question here, kind of wrapping things up. I know we kind of talked about it a bit before, kind of like just seeing it all come alive. And how does it feel now knowing that, you can order these online, they come to you, or you can go into different stores across the United States and you're bound to see your own toy line there?
Feeling blessed, honestly. It's so surreal. And the other day I was speaking to someone on Zoom as well, and they were hunting nostalgia with the Toy Store guide. which also brought me awareness to the toy stores in the area. ToyStoreGuide.com, awesome platform for anywhere you're traveling. You're like, here's a toy store. You know, he had asked me like, when did I start this? And I told him like, I really went in 2001, 2000 roughly. And then he surprised me by holding up the toy book. And he's like, are you telling me in just 4 years, you went from a failed Kickstarter and into the same page as the Hasbros and Mattels and Transformers? And I'm not gonna lie, I got teary eyed there because it really doesn't hit sometimes because you're constantly in this motion. Like I said, I'm talking about, you know, wave two. And I'm like, I'm trying to truthfully sit in this moment and appreciate just exactly what you said. Like, they are finally available. The dream is come true. The end, like, everything after this is just a bonus. And I want to make sure, because I know in the past I would still be searching for, like, it's not done yet. You know, I got the 10 characters. It's still failed, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, the end, at the end of the day, I achieved what I wanted, and I'm super grateful for everyone I was able to work with. Now I'm like, this is where the fun begins, because I get to meet people like you. I get to see people's reactions. I get to see them being added to a collection. I get people sending me like, oh, ideas for the next characters. Like, oh, this is this guy. This could be the coffee guy. This could be the punch. Like, it's so cool to finally see that and be in this moment. So yeah, I have a lot of words to end with. I'm speechless.
I'm happy for you. I'm really glad that this all worked out. And you really made something, I think, really unique and special. And, you know, it'll be really exciting if, like, 20, 30 years down the line, I'm hoping everything, it keeps growing for you as well. And then, you're sitting there watching TV and it's like, no, 95 Warriors, the new comic. And it's just like the cartoon. And you're like, I remember when, he was just, for starting out, and it was just like, just a toy line. And it hopefully goes into something, feature film and cereal and all that.
The possibilities are endless. On it, as long as more people start seeing it, it'll become a reality soon.
Brandon, thank you so much again for sitting down and chatting with us and talking more about this awesome dream turned reality. To get your very own set of Wave 1, aka the first shift, you can go head over to 95 Warriors, Brandon's official site, or you can stop by and see them in person at our physical store or our website, decadesofcooltoys.com. Brandon, we're signing off here. Until next time, stay awesome, toy fans.
Thank you so much. Thank you.